Have you ever wondered whether the problems in the world today would exist if we had deeper connection to ourselves, others, and the environment and acted from that place?
Welcome to the Conscious Action Podcast with your hosts Brian Berneman and Kayla Greenville, who believe that connection is the key to taking conscious action as individuals and creating a better world.
We are here to raise awareness and inspire meaningful action by sharing stories, knowledge, and conversations with thought leaders and change makers.
From sustainability to well-being and everything related to conscious living, our mission is to empower you to be the change that you want to see in the world. Welcome to a new episode of the Conscious Action Podcast. I am Brian, your host. For this episode, I have the pleasure of having my dear friend Yana, that she's joining me for a fun chat, a nice conversation. And as I always do with every episode, because I don't like introducing people, because I make it really about what they do and not who they are, I would love, Yana, for you to introduce yourself to everyone that is listening. And first of all, thank you so much for being part of this episode.
Kia ora, everyone, and in return, thank you so much for having me, Brian. It's a pleasure to join you and share some interesting conversations and insights, as we always do. My name is Yana, everybody. I'm a Russian Kiwi, and I'm kind of proud of that dual citizenship, as I have a country that I was born in, and now I have another country that I call home number 2. And it does feel this way. And actually, New Zealand has brought so much healing for me that led me to do what I probably do at the moment, as I love inspiring people to connect with themselves, try to understand what it means to be authentic self, and living your fulfilling life. So I'm a founder and creative force behind Papaya Stories project, and I'm also running creative wellbeing workshops and creating stress-free spaces, outdoor, indoors, where we connect, share stories, come and play, and express ourselves freely with no judgment. So yeah, that's what I've been passionate over the last while, and that's how we met as well, because I've been passionate about what you guys been doing, and I felt there was a lot of alignment in our work and our service to the community.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for your introduction. And I would love to hear a little bit more, because we actually are now in the middle of this big change in the world, this pandemic, and we here now in New Zealand are very fortunate that we are basically open back again after the lockdown, and as you were just saying, that you're so grateful to be here in this country and to be grateful to have both citizenships or both places that you can call home. I would love to know a little bit more about your Russian side and understanding, as you say, like this is like New Zealand has been a really healing space for you. So can you tell, because also I'm always super interested in these different cultures and different countries, can you tell us a little bit more about your upbringing and your sense of what the Russian culture is, for you at least?
That's cool. Because to be honest, I had some time in New Zealand trying to fit in and become a Kiwi, or you still can always pick up my accent, which I was not ashamed of, but there was a stage of previous Yana that really wanted to fit in, and now I'm kind of proud, as I say, that I have different sides of me, and that's make me who I am. So let's help each other to be more like that. So thank you for this question and interest. Upbringing wise, I wonder if it was similar to yours. I really cherish those moments if I'm just talking from the community point of view and not digging deep in terms of family situations and some dysfunctionalities that I might also had. Okay, I actually will start from something negative that Russian psyche has. It's love to suffer. I think it's also being Christian Orthodox mentality that really makes you feel that in order to gain light and, you know, feel something more than yourself, you have to embrace all the pain you're going through and accumulate and go through it. And, you know, growing up with some things, with some beliefs, when your dad is saying, oh, you're laughing too much today, tomorrow you're gonna cry, you're like, where is this coming from? And it's just, you know, the tip of the iceberg. So there is a lot of I think with years and years of cultural code and still having Tsar in Russia, and now we have Putin, it kind of proves that Russian people don't really like to take lots of responsibility for making a change. I think it's shifting. I can see the new generation is coming that is more liberating, and people start to speak up and shape their positions and have a different thinking and allowing people to think differently. But I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, especially those people who don't travel and they stay in the city. It's really easy to fall into that trap. And that's a lot of things that I had to say, I'm Russian in that way, you know? And it's that part of like, I want to use the suffering or pain that I had in my life as a catalyst for the good change. So I took the negative angle. From the positive point of view, I remember my upbringing being, my childhood being the most happy memories, because we used to hang out on the backyard and the city and I don't know, like playgrounds, parks, being till midnight. Like I'm 5 years old, 6 years old, and my parents they knew that I was safe. And I would just literally come, have a sleep, and then I'll go and play all over again. And I think this is definitely a part that I really love about my childhood, that I continue to take into my adulthood life, and even that I would like to implement in the work that I do. But I also had an older sister, so it made me feel like I actually have 3 parents. My mom, my father, and my sister, who actually convinced my parents to have another sibling. So she was saving up money for me. Like she believed that you can buy a child. So the poor thing that were given pocket money, she was collecting a jar. And one night she came in and said, that's it. I don't know what else can you do. Like, can you give me, I want a sibling. I want a younger sister. And I did the same thing, but not asking about a sibling, but asking to have a dog.
And did you get it?
I got it, and I also have to earn for it. So that's another funny story that I've got really beautiful feelings towards it. I won't say that it's only pride. It's more like, wow, that kid, that Yana that made the decision at the age of 10, made me believe that we can do quite a bit of cool things here on this planet. So I got an idea about having a dog since I was 5 or maybe even 4. And I started writing letters to Santa Claus, like genuine letters. I tried to, there were no internet, right? I was growing up without internet. So my research was watching the stray dogs or dog owners with their dogs and like learning about their behavior and how smart they are. So I would write short stories. My soft toys will become my dogs that I put on a lead, which was a belt from like dad's jeans. So I would turn into a dog, and sometimes I would just eat from my bowl, like clicking. Like, so there were lots of ways then I tried to connect with that. And my parents would always find a reason why we shouldn't have a dog. And first, we really lived in a small apartment. I don't know what about your childhood. We we lived in tiny places in Russia. And then when we moved to a bigger place, my dad said we ran out of money. And I was already 9 years old. And I was like, why, how you ran out of money? How do we? He's like, but you know, to have a dog, it's a responsibility. It's not just you buying it. It's, you know. I was like, oh, okay. And I thought I'll just try to make this money. So, and that's an interesting thing. Like I I didn't even think about it as sacrifice. I invested all my toys, Kinder Surprises collections. I made flower bouquets out of the things that I saw around me, and I was selling them nonstop from the porch of our new house. And within a week or 10 days, I got $600.
Wow.
And the dog costed $800. So my sister was able to top up. I put that money into the envelope, wrote down the phone number of the family who were selling Bernese Shepherd puppies, the ones that we were after. And I just wrote 2 words to my dad, "You promised," and put it under the pillow.
Wow.
And in 3 months or even less, we got our Sherwood, we got our puppy. And I think it's also, I know I was already 10, but my dog was a big part of me growing up and being my best friend as well.
Wow, that's beautiful. Wow. It's incredible like how that entrepreneurship spirit was already there, like when you were so young. It's like noticing what you wanted. And you mentioned something which was really interesting, that you started saying the word sacrifice and then you took it back, because it's not sacrifice. I believe a lot of times when we live in a society that believes in sacrifice and in that like hard work and not being able to do everything that we want because we need to do something else because of fitting into society or whatever that looks like. And that comes from a place of a lot of sacrifice. But in reality, when you know what you want, it doesn't feel like a sacrifice. It feels like your energy is going towards that, and you're pouring your heart into it, and you work towards that, and you like hopefully make it happen without feeling like, oh no, like I didn't do a lot of the other things because I wanted just to do this. Like that's not the mentality when you really want that something like the dog.
It's true. And I also think, like, I'm quite aware as yourself what words we use because they have certain power or even describe the feeling. I definitely did a few sacrifices in my life, but that's definitely puts me in the place that I was a victim in that situation. Like, I find that sacrifice has that victim mentality when you were pushed to do it, or you really regret that you let go of something, or you have to, as you said, you have to pretend in order to get that job, that you sacrificed your like quality that you're proud of and you didn't. But when you have this crystal clear vision, it's really, you know, you are doing it for the bigger love, for the bigger experience that makes you who you are. It's pretty cool. And I'm really sad if people live, if they see their life as they sacrificing something, if they don't see something of letting go of something that was your comfort zone or something, or a favorite toy. You know, like you see, as kids we go through different levels, and I actually learned recently that being greedy as a kid when you like a year or a year and a half is good, because you realize that you have your own boundaries and this is your thing. Like, this is my cup and I'm holding it, and if you, Brian, want it, no. If I'm a kid, I'm just testing and understanding. But if we teenagers or like mature adults. I hope we are mature. I'm getting there. But as adults, and I see how much you love the cup. And yeah, it is meaningful, but not like super meaningful. I just see how much you like the cup. I'm really happy to give you this cup, and because I really feel it's not even a sacrifice. I just feel how much happiness I'm bringing into your life, and somehow it makes me happy too. How does this work?
Yes.
And during this selling stuff, I realized that I'm actually not selling. I'm kind of giving my toys that served a mission. I played with them for a year, and I'm giving them to a girl, like for a very tiny, it wasn't that I was making money, that I got a toy for $20, which I didn't even get. My parents got it for me, right? So I actually brought back money that my parents invested in me, if you actually think this way, right? It is interesting.
And I wanted to touch on something that you also just mentioned, that you said that mature adult, and you were saying as well, like there's a huge importance on the words that we use and the meaning that we attach to this. And I believe that there is a sense, and I think that this is why who you are and what you do is so special, because there's a sense that when we start to be more mature, that somehow means a little bit more boring, and like not allowing ourselves to be completely like goofy and play and keep on learning and exploring life, because life is a playground. But in society, or most of society, the norm is, like you grow up and you start, like you go to school and you go to your work, and then perhaps you have a house and family or whatever that is, and there is all of this.
You make sacrifices.
Yes. So like this, I think that it's such an important thing, because I believe that we are in a time where we need to rewrite a lot of the meanings and a lot of the ways of how we see life, and I think that what you bring into the world, that is that fun and that play and like a joyful life, like that is part of life, and that should be the norm for anybody that wants to take part of that. And so many people don't allow themselves, because they are, like just all in trying to stay in a safe space of what they think is safe, but not allowing themselves to explore. Would you be able to share, I'm curious, what do you see with that, and what are the ways that you try to introduce this to people?
It's you said the whole world is a playground, which I really like, and I agree with. And I've been just thinking, society constructs very interesting systems, right? Within how we need to exist. But again, even if we have, and the systems sometimes serve us, and sometimes it's really hard to break through the system to show up in a different quality or a different state of mind. And we develop stigma to say, this is the right behavior, this is the wrong behavior, right? And of course, running across the street, not checking the cars, it's not a safe behavior, because your life is at stake, and you also put other people's in life. So I think there are situations where we should learn the rules, and that are socially appropriate. But I'm more interested in exploring how in everyday life, in the situations at work, without going deeper and pushing everyone to do some personal development and find the space to heal, or find the source of inspiration and light from within, which is always, of course, it's it's always a motivation for me. So I won't lie. Like, I want to help people to find the key to their soul. I want to connect them. But I think what is different from traditional mindful practices that I'm offering is to not package it this way and make it really, I hope, and I think I've seen it because of the diverse groups that we attract and work with and have fun with. It's more creating the space that is accessible and tapping into that inner child that is playful, adventurous, curious about life, that realizes there are no boundaries, in a sense that that we created some boundaries. And with the Silent Disco CityWalk concept, I can definitely say one of the popular initiatives that I've been doing over the last 2-3 years that picked up. I really like how people, when they hear Silent Disco CityWalk, and I'm sure people who are listening, they will think, I need to dance, and maybe need to dance and do it in public. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's totally my jam. Some people will think, and other people might think, that's cool, but it's not my thing. And other group will think, no, it's shitty concept or whatever it is. And it's every opinion is right because it's their own experience and how we created the experiences. But even the people who think, it's not my cup of tea, but I will give it a go, and they come and they understand that this experience much wider than they thought. This is probably one of my favorite moments to see that an introverted person who is not into dancing suddenly transforms and like is actually a #1 dance star on the street, or the opposite, they just dove into their own world and feel very safe in their bubble, but still they experience something that is very meaningful for them, and that's quite cool. What I wanted to add is that my aspiration or my desire is to let people be themselves no matter what sort of social construct they are. Because if we see people who go to explore, this is the festival, it's creative abundance, you can do whatever, you can dress up, and people wait for this day to go and dress up for 2-3 days and they have amazing fun. But what stops them to have the same fun in the environment and even take responsibility and create their own mini festival at their own backyard at the workplace? Like, this is kind of the dream aspiration, that people start to take responsibility instead of just going and consuming the experiences or things. We will become the ones who will create those things.
Yes, empowering people to be able to create the life that they want every single day. And this is something that I do feel like, and I try to do the same. Of course, it's from a different perspective and different practices, but it's like, for me, it's about that. It's giving people the possibility to create the space within and outside of them to be who they really want to be, and to explore the possibility of who they truly are instead of who they've been conditioned to be.
Exactly.
And I do want to ask, or for you to give a little bit more of a background on how did Papaya Stories come to be, and what was the catalyst for that for you, and what were you doing before Papaya Stories, and how has your life in a sense changed as well?
Yeah, it makes sense. So my first bachelor and master's degree that I got in Russia was public relations and creative journalism. So I've been always, and actually I'm grateful for my sister to kind of got me into that direction. She did the research and knew my strengths, and I have no regrets having that degree, because it was all about communications, finding the values that you would like to communicate to people, and you have to work with media, with sponsors, whatever your end consumer is. You talk to different target groups and finding the ways to promote this or that message. Public relations also has a lot of psychological knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's is where my passion has been coming through. So I've been working in creative agencies, tailoring and delivering campaigns for world-class brands, Nokia that used to exist,
Mm-hmm.
AMD, Cirque du Soleil, Bacardi, Martini. So I worked with a really awesome pool of clients back in Russia till 2011. So for a few years, I also worked for Russian Tennis Federation, and that was one of my first really big dream jobs, where I started as a marketing assistant, and then I grew within project-based opportunities. I grew into being the head of the press office and being the key translator of the tournament, and that was really, really cool. I remember that also, that feeling when you work for passion, not for money. I think I always could distinguish that, and that's the feeling that I really crave in my life. But to be honest, like when I was in Moscow, I never felt this is the place I want to be. So in 2011, I had that chance to turn my life upside down, literally speaking. And I found a program at AUT. So I started postgraduate diploma in business. So I have business, really like business creative agency background. But within all my work that I've done in creative agencies in Russia, and then I worked in digital marketing agency in New Zealand, I've been always passionate about creating meaningful experiences. And I've been always doing team building and doing lots of corporate wellness programs while being an accountant manager, or helping people, like with creative products and ideation. But the other side of me was always like, how can I bring people together? How? And it's again like, it wasn't forced. It was like, okay, these are my duties. What else can I do to improve culture? So now as I reflect, I understood like what always fed Papaya Stories. And I started Papaya Stories in 2014 when I got a job, when I was already working at Affinity ID. That was a digital marketing agency. And I had a Countdown was my key client. So a big company, right, in New Zealand. And I realized that I embraced the challenge. I learned so much about big data, how the database is organized. It was a completely new field for me. Also learned about Kiwi culture, how you build the project management and clients relationship, which was similar to my Russian experience, but also I learned a lot, completely different how they do it. And I had a really cool boss, Sandra. If she's listening, if Sandra is listening, hello to Sandra. I'm actually grateful for her, as she taught me how to turn the problem into the challenge. And there's no word problem, there's always word solution or like lesson. And I really love that attitude. But despite all this, some of the good things, and that was the time when I tried to fit, actually, because I was labeled crazy Russian, as I was definitely out of the box. And I started doing Papaya Stories because I felt like creative part of Yana, a writer, a storyteller, a person who wants to connect with another people, like what you're doing at the moment, through interviews or conversations. I was just bursting into it. So Papaya Stories started as a creative blog or lifestyle blog, where we featured stories about ordinary people with extraordinary lives, to showcase that each of us is unique when we start the journey from within. And I literally mean that somehow one of my chakras was open, because I've been attracting really incredible people into my life, and they would come, they would share the story, and they will go. So I really felt like I was a mediator. And I decided to start capturing those conversations and thinking, if they inspire me to understand or who I am, maybe they will inspire people, and we understand we're never alone. We have similar stories, and stories can be really transformative. And I started working on it with Catherine Brook, my dearest friend, and she was really keen on idea as well, and she's a photographer, so she wanted to create visual artworks of people we've been interviewing. So it was our kind of soul sisters project. But the most interesting part started is when my counselor said, okay, when it's going to be your full-time job? And that journey probably started 4 years ago, maybe 3.5. And yeah, it was a very interesting journey, as I realized how much I'm scared to do what I truly love. And first, I really wanted to prove myself that the vision, the creative vision that I have for community building or helping people to explore what a fun, joyful event might look like when, instead of watching, they also become performers or something like that. I wanted to prove that New Zealand, there is a place for it like this in New Zealand, because I bounced, and had a bit of, not heartbroken stories, but I probably didn't hold the right beliefs within me. So I would attract in life proving like, no, you shall not pass. New Zealand doesn't like people like you. And I wanted to prove myself, no, there is a potential to do something different. So I did the first community event, Magic Photo Booth. You can YouTube and look it up. There's a really cool trailer that will give you the idea of what the event was like. But basically, we were teleporting people to 7 different countries with the help of photo booth, and also dance, pop-up dancers and performers who would then help them to travel and experience different culture. And it was beautiful. We had 40 volunteers, and 5 volunteers would represent a certain country, and it was Russia, Hawaii, India, France, Ireland. We didn't have Argentina, unfortunately, because we really wanted to connect with Argentinian community as well. But yeah, after that event, when it happened and it was successful, and I saw how much, I saw the effect and the love that people got, and no one wanted to leave the space. And thought, okay, let's do it. So that took me another few years to and the journey never stops, right? But now I can say it's my full-time journey at the moment, my full-time venture. I'm hopeful, but let's see what's going to be in this post-COVID-19 world.
Yes. And I do think it's so interesting what you said, like a couple of things that you mentioned there, and so interesting. Like, one is understanding the importance of different people in our lives. Like sometimes they come in the form of a formal mentor, but sometimes it's just, someone you work with or someone in your life, and the impact that they can have. The impact of having, as you said, like your counselor, like nudging you to be able to do what you really wanted to do. And as well, like, and I loved that you mentioned like soul sister, like to be able to actually have those connections with people in your life, friends, family, whatever they are, and to be able to co-create something. Like I love co-creation, and I think that this is something that you do very well as well, like to understand that co-creation And that comes in every level, because it's co-creation to organize something, but as well co-creation, as you were saying before, of during an event. And like, for example, the silent disco CityWalk, like it's being co-created by everyone that is taking part, because if people are not dancing or are not having fun, the atmosphere is a certain one, but if people take the lead, it's very different. I remember, because I've been part of a lot of the silent disco CityWalks with you, and
yeah, he's a very special guest, I must say.
yes. And I remember one that there was a group of people that were so into it, and it was kind of like the energy. I was like, wow, this group is amazing, just because there were a couple of people that really took the lead, and everybody else was kind of following that energy, and they were dancing and like moving and like doing all of this, and I was like, wow, this is so fun. And I've been on other ones that didn't happen that much, that people were going in their own way how they wanted to move and dance. So that sense of co-creation, because what ends up happening is based on whoever is there, because it's a similar either a similar event or actually the same event, but with the different people created differently. And one of the biggest things that I love about the silent disco CityWalks, and I know that this is one of your aims, is to help people discover their backyard, like to help people discover and see the city and different places that perhaps they wouldn't look twice, and being able to introduce them to how beautiful or what's out there in their neighborhoods, and to do that in a fun way. So I'm interested in what has been your, in a sense, your inspiration for that, and also what have you found through these last few years of running all of these different type of events.
Cool. It's a mix of both. I don't know how other people create. It's actually interesting to know if you break down the idea or like what's coming first, right? So for me, because I'm kind of definitely audio person, so I love listening to people's voices. I love music. I love listening, and I love walking in the city. So Silent Disco City Walk is a mix of my personal favorite things to do in the city, mixed with some experiences that I had a chance to take in Europe, edited with a point of bringing okay, let's put it this way, positive social change into the community, right? Because in New Zealand, while not being born in New Zealand, you come and you still not 100% lose the sense of being an outsider in a good way. You lived your life in Russia, you spent some time in Europe, and you come in here and you think, not that like, look at me, look what I've got. It's more that, it's interesting, the society is built on a different, not even values level, but people express themselves differently. And then you wonder why there are so many high rates on suicides and depression and mental health. And while I was going on my own mental health journey, I realized that the culture can be quite suppressive. And it's not that easy to say, hey, I feel shit, I need to go home. Or I've heard that not so many people actually can go through hard emotions like grieving or loss and being fine to process them. So I think the driving force for making Silent Disco City Walk what it is, and trying to inspire people to connect to their emotions. And at some point when you connect, you really need to not shut off the world, but actually understanding what's happening within you. So when you stop paying attention to what other people think of you, it's the one step closer to yourself. And Silent Disco CityWalk is a safe space to do it, because we have dance guides and events assistants and Darth Vader that you've been acting of, that take that pressure off from people. So there's a fun audio entertainment program, right? And some historical facts or site-specific information about the area that we're passing, that take that pressure off about this experience is all about you, all eyes on you. No, it's like, right? It's kind of really immerses people into one united organism, and suddenly you understand that I can just try to do something new, and it gets easier and easier, and the music helps, and the energy of the group helps. So there are three key things. As I always love walking and exploring places, and I always get creative with the place, what we can do here, because I actually find there's a very huge gap in Auckland, what you can do if you live in the city. If you're not a tourist for 2-3 days and you go and see Sky City, Harbor Bridge, and I don't know, go to Piha, do the how you can experience city and fall in love with the city all over again, because this is the question. Otherwise you think, I'm bored, I know it all. No, you haven't tried. Did you go to this suburb? Why people explore just the suburb where they live? Why they don't go somewhere else? So there was another inspiration.
Yeah.
What I found interesting on a personal level over years of creating, I just talk about myself. First of all, from a business point of view, I'm ready to expand, and I really want to have Silent Disco CityWalk stations in Dunedin and Tauranga and Wellington, and expand. I'm ready and would be really happy to train teams there and have the hubs there. From a personal, professional perspective, I'm really proud of the team value, but also I've learned of how to work with the team, and also be open to welcome new team members and let go of some people who are ready to take off and do something else. I think that was a big process for me to understand that, it's not a full-time job yet for people, but also understanding that our core people that they stay there for another reason. And no matter what sort of person you are, if you are into dancing, you will definitely enjoy curating the experience. But some of the team members, they're not that much into dancing, but the experience gives them so much that they understand and learn not only we learn about ourselves by looking at other people and enjoying the experience together. And also realize that I love creating more programs. And I'm very excited when people approach us to do the personalized hands party or team building events. This is what I'm like, we can bring this concept down to really cool elements and make it personal and make it meaningful. So this is when I'm like really singing from deep down. In terms of community, I'm just amazed what sort of people turn up and say yes to this. And that always surprising. And it's just so fascinating to see how when people come and, there is briefing where I say a few words, and then health and safety, people come a bit shy and reserved. And then by the end of that, everyone is chatting. And somehow people who have the shared experience, what you've talked about, they co-created, they've shared, they feel more connected to themselves and one another. And that's a really beautiful thing.
Yes, that's so beautiful. And as you were saying, and like that creating new things. I was just thinking of our co-creation, of being able to do some silent disco mixed with picking up rubbish, whether that is at the beach or in the parks, and that we had to cancel because of the of COVID. And I'm so looking forward to being able to actually make it happen.
Same here. I was actually walking in Western Springs, and I thought today with girlfriends, and we found another cool spot, which is Central, and there was so much rubbish. And I was like, we need to do clean up with Brian here. Yeah, so I've got more spots coming.
Nice.
And I also love collaborating or co-creating with you, as I learned so much about you. And it's yeah, I just think I like give myself a permission, and this is an interesting thing, but I think it's important for any soul to have a space where you can try to be slightly different, like go a bit wild sometimes.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting because for me it's very interesting. I had something a few weeks ago, a friend's birthday, and I went there and there was music, and I started dancing, like how everybody else was dancing. And then these friends of mine that had never seen me in that setting were like, who's that? And I'm like, that's me, the one that like when there's music dances and has fun. And they're like, wow, like that's a completely different side of you, because for a lot of people, depends on where they know me from. I'm either like this really relaxed person, or more like like meditation and mindfulness and Buddhism, and like and there is like so much I know about me, so many different sides, and as you say, like being able to create a space for people to bring that forth, because perhaps they don't have any other spaces where they are allowed, and they have that, perhaps they don't have that permission to see that side of themselves. Yeah, beautiful. Because I'm just wary of time. Like, I mean, we could be speaking here like for days.
Yeah, totally.
But
I'll invite you to my upcoming show, so
nice.
We'll continue the conversation. Yeah.
Cool. I just want to go into a few of the questions that I ask at the end of every episode, to make sure that we do have the time for that. And some of them are super easy. Some of them might take you a moment to think about. So the first question is, what is one resource that you would recommend to others? That can be a book, a film, like a website, whatever it is.
Okay. For any chance there might be a Russian-speaking audience, I just found this amazing platform that I think Brian and some other people and myself we're creating a similar thing. Let's put it this way. It's called Love Creators World. It's on Instagram, and they also exist offline. They've been inspiring me through the lockdown, like really great conversations. Let me think what is for like overall English speaking audience that has been, just a moment, a book, a movie. I'll definitely recommend the movie La Vita è Bella.
Beautiful.
And resource, I'm just trying, I definitely know there is one. Just trying to think. So interesting. I might actually say, because music means so much to me, I might recommend listening to Pink Floyd, The Dark Side of the Moon. I find that they created that being in the highest conscious. Also, I would say I like the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza and learning about neuroscience, breaking the habit of being your old self.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good book, and it
Yes.
talks about quantum physics. It's really interesting, and we had a prior discussion about it. And in addition to that, the power of now as well. So
Yes.
they're kind of out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting you ask, because I'm reading a very interesting book, but it's in Russian, so I can't. That was my first thing. I was like,
Yeah, it's interesting a lot of times with different languages. There's a few times that I want to recommend people to something, and then I realize, oh wait, that's in Spanish and there's no translation for that. Sometimes there are translations, but some resources there's not. So those are all really good. What's your one go-to tip that you'd like to share? Like, if you can give someone one tip, what is that?
sit still and listen.
Beautiful. Yes, that's a beautiful one. And what has been your latest small act of kindness?
Mhm. I can't even think of those as kindness. And boom, 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 boom. I've been giving away jewelry pieces that I didn't want, and they're good jewelry pieces, or like some necklaces. And girls, like I uploaded them online, showcasing them, like actually creating quite cool pictures. And then saying, oh, there's so much beauty in that, and asking people who wants them for free. And the first reaction I got from girls, like I posted this story, who wants it? The reply is like, they beautiful. I was like, do you want it or not? Can I have it? I was like, yes, I'm giving it for free. And I probably, not even that, probably delivering people the parcels. So I just made up envelopes, some notes, decorated them, and delivered while people were at work or doing things, and they come, and that's probably the part of it. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Kindness.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of kindness. That's very kind, and that's not just this very small thing. That's a big thing. Yeah, beautiful.
I actually just thought I'm also trying to be kind for myself and for others, like on an energetic, mental level. That's probably was my first inner response. Yeah, but it's not an act as in.
Yeah, it's not tangible.
Tangible. It's more, intangible.
Yes. Still, it's really good. I mean, if we all did that, then we would have a very different society. So, yes.
Yeah, totally. I'm curious what that society would look like.
Yes. That would be really interesting. Yeah.
What about you? Can I ask, what was the recent act of kindness of you?
Was my recent act of kindness? I think that I think that I have a few from today. Helping some people. I work at a co-working space, such as helping them with giving them feedback of what they were doing for work. So just taking a few minutes to be able to do that. And then to guide the meditation session for everyone that was in the office. So yeah, to give them a nice mindful moment to then continue with their work day. Yeah, that was really nice. Okay, last question. What is one thing that you wish the world knew? This is a big one.
What is one thing that I wish I knew?
Or that everybody knew.
That everybody knew?
Yes.
About me, or?
No, in general, it can be.
Mm. 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 Okay, philosophical answer that comes to the surface is that you are empowered to change for the better. And change, the conscious change, always happens for the better. It's scary, very, very scary to get out of that comfort zone and start to breaking your neuron pathways. But it's so worth it because you're starting to live your life on your terms. And I think there is so much fear in our psychology or how the society is built, because the society is built on shame, guilt, and fear. So we can be controlled and manipulated. But if everyone knew that there is a chance to live life as you want, that would be, I'm curious how it's going to look like. But I also want people to have that sense of hope.
Yes, that's a beautiful wish for the world. I think that change is one of the biggest things that we need more, and we need to understand more that is the reality of life, that everything changes instead of holding to what we know and getting out of our comfort zone, and how does that look for every person. So thank you so much, Yana, for taking the time for this conversation. I love always chatting with you. I love that you bring such a nice, loving energy and so much fun and joy into everything that you do with so much passion, really. And for those that are listening, how can they find you, like on social media or website?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. My personal account is Yana, YANA _ papaya. Papaya as a fruit, PAPAYA. You can follow Papaya Stories project and keep up with all the updates and exciting things that we're creating. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, or just Google. And let's co-create the whole present moment and future. And big fat thank you to you, Brian. Like, my heart is always full with you, and it's great to have a chance to have such a deep conversation and actually reflect on your journey once again, and thinking, interesting.
Yes, it's always
What's going to happen next. So
yes.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you guys for listening.
Yes, thank you. And I'm going to share as well on the comments, on the description of the episode. I'm going to share some links that you can follow and find Yana and Papaya Stories and what they're up to a little bit more easily. So thank you once again, Yana, and thank you everyone for listening to this episode. And I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye-bye.
What did you like the most about this episode? Take a moment to think about what change you can make in your life today.
Share your conscious action on social media using #ConsciousAction and tagging @ConsciousActionNZ so we can celebrate your impact on the world and create a ripple effect.
One easy action we would love for you to take right now is to share, like, and subscribe to this podcast. This will help us get these messages out into the world and inspire more people to take conscious action in their own lives, contributing to the better world we hope for.